You create the world of the dream. We bring the subject into that dream, and they fill it with their subconscious.
How could I ever acquire enough detail to make them think that it's reality?
Well, dreams, they feel real while we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange. Let me ask you a question. You never really remember the beginning of a dream, do you? You always wind up right in the middle of what's going on.
I guess, yeah.
So how did we end up here?
Well, we just came from the,
Think about it, Ariadne. How did you get here? Where are you right now?
We're dreaming?
You're actually in the middle of the workshop right now, sleeping. This is your first lesson in training.
I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible.
America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. You can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important.
Do you think these systems that they're putting up on these towers are there so you can watch Netflix and play video games on your phone while you're taking a dump? Do you not realize what is in store for people right now? Do you realize what they're doing with this stuff? Do you realize what this stuff does? These towers are weaponry. These systems are weaponized. I'm going to go over a couple things with you. I've gone over a lot of things in the past, but I'm going to keep hitting on this because it's not sinking in. Most people are in a trance. Most people are zombies. Most people are self-absorbed, myopic children. Now they're going to be putting in the microcells instead of these huge towers that are already in place, with power generating systems the size of shipping containers next to them, with cables 4 to 5 inches in diameter, capable of handling hundreds of thousands of volts, what, for 5 watts of power? Are you freaking kidding me?
Modern televisions have such a fast refresh rate that we don't even notice it's basically just a constantly flashing light that could feasibly deliver subliminals all day long. Even without subliminals, it's still a perfect social engineering tool. Mind control through TVs can already be done using something like Hendrikus Luz's patent for nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors, televisions, and computer screens. While that sounds more like a mood swing device, many patents could be used in conjunction with one another, like adding the silent subliminal presentation system for silent hypnosis that only sounds like an ultrasonic tinnitus noise if you even notice it at all. This 1992 patent was used on myself and others around the same time frame, so I can at least attest to a similar device's implementation, if not this exact one. But given my own experience, I have to say it's been around a lot longer than that. This is what people generally mean when they talk about V2K, voice to skull. This device and others like the long-range acoustic device, LRAD, used by the military, are able to throw voices directly at people's heads. It's not unlike the audio spotlight or sound laser parametric speaker systems. Only the person facing it will hear it. LRADs were used by the US military to make Iraqi soldiers believe the voice of Allah was in their heads. There are numerous patents that prove direct or indirect mind control is possible with frequencies alone, aside from televisions, Wi-Fi, and V2K devices, also known as the microwave auditory effect or Fry effect. From 1961's hypnotic inducer, to microwave hearing and brainwave manipulation, to ultrasonic carrier signals. With these technologies, we were already androids in thrall to the machine. This guy sums it all up pretty well.
I asked Ben Bice what a weapon using this technology could do.
Induce basically what would be considered hallucinations in people, direct them to do things against their so-called better judgment.
How easy would it be to assemble a weapon from existing off-the-shelf parts?
In 3 weeks, I could put together a weapon that would take care of a whole town.
The experiment wasn't just to lock down a police state like Orwell's 1984, but to determine how the entire public could be enthralled with a combination of narcotics, psychotronics, and a form of hypnosis. Sometimes it's just used to torture people to death. And it seems to be the consensus among TIs that madness and suicide is the goal. The occultists among gang stalkers consider us all potential sacrifices, but in regard to it being a military experiment, it's been shown that the majority of TIs are very intelligent people, many well educated. If I had to guess, it's because if it's easy to control those who set the standards high, then controlling everyone else will be no problem.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Everything is just fine. Waiting for you.
Well, I just wanted to start it out to show everybody that Jesuits are really running this country. You know, they're Nazis. Adolf Hitler was a Nazi and a Jesuit, and so is Pope Francis. He is a Jesuit. If you don't know about them and you want to read about the Jesuits, you can find information on the Order of the Jesuits and what they're all about. There's a lot of organizations that are out there that are connected to each other, you know, that stems from ancient history and the occult. And we want to show the ties to the New Age and why the New Age is such an important piece to them in order to bring out the New World Order for the New Age religion. Pope Francis, he said that Christ was a failure on the cross. He has also said that having a relationship with Jesus Christ is dangerous. He has also said that if, you know, the aliens come, he will baptize them. And you know, God tells us not to follow after man. And I'm going to show something later on in the show to show how they follow the seraphim. And this is who they follow. And, you know, millions of people follow this man. Jesus told us not to follow man. And so, you know, a lot of people do, but this is bringing in the New Age and the New World Order because Pope Francis welcomes Chrislam. And so it began on September 23rd, 2015. When we did our shows, we never said anything was going to happen. We were trying to explain things that are hidden from the world, the occult, things that are bringing out things to come. And this was the beginning of sustainable development and the New World Order connection with the beast rising out of the sea of people, which is the Pope Francis, coming from Rome, which is the fourth kingdom. And then you have Obama. And so they're meeting together, the false prophet, you know, Pope Francis. And this is a big thing, you know, because Obama is a head chair at the UN. He went to court a lot for the internet rights, and, you know, the internet was made from CERN, and then now he's the head of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So the United States is in all actuality bringing in the New World Order with Rome. I mean, the United Nations document formerly entitled Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted on Friday, September 25th at the start of the UN's 3-day summit on sustainable development. September 23rd. And I just wanted to note here, I just stuck this in here real quick to show that we know that there's something going on in the Middle East and Russia. And I put this video up a long time ago. Actually, I did a blog about almost a year ago that said when the Russians invade the Middle East, the tribulation will begin. This time marker links Gog's invasion with the unveiling of the Lord's fury. The symbol of Russia and China is Tubal-Cain and the Satan sickle. Iran is Marduk, the same thing, equals Apollo. The Brotherhood all worship the beast. Tubal-Cain, Lucifer, Apollo, Isis, Venus, Saturn, the Dark Star. It's all a computer system that will enslave the world. But back to the sustainable development. These are this is the picture. I broke it down. And this is no poverty, no hunger, good health, clean energy, good jobs and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, protect the planet, life below water, life on land, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption, peace and justice, and partnerships for the goals. And we know that false peace is noted in the Bible the false love, the false peace, the false love and light that Lucifer brings in. And when we do our next show, Language of Light, that's going to show even deeper understanding of that.
Yep. Yeah, it's always funny. Look at the people who write these things. So if you look at the United Nations and you see barely any representative republics, but they're all dictatorships and communist countries and socialist countries, then you go, I don't want anything to do with these people. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness sounds a lot better than that stuff that they just went here and talked about. And your self-determination, the ability to have your own farm, raise your own food, take care of your own family, own your own businesses, not good jobs, where some robot takes it when they're ready to bring in the robots. These people just lie, and that's the problem. People keep listening to them. Why do people keep listening to Obama? His lips move, it's a lie. There's no reason to listen to this guy or these other people. They just lie. You just look at the Georgia Guidestones. There you go. That's what they're going to do. You don't have to listen to them. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is one of the pictures they have. This is what they do. They use celebrities, television, movies, and actually, the movies, they use symbolism to get into people's brains, to get them thinking a certain way. But if you have the Holy Spirit, of course, God guides you, thankfully, through the Holy Spirit. But this is just their, their symbolism, showing the third eye, Eye of Horus. There you go. They use television, music, words. They actually put poison in our food. They do these things in order to fool the masses. This is one of the movies that they portrayed the rapture in, and this is another part of predictive programming. I had another movie here, and I forgot to put the name, but he played in this movie too.
Yeah, that was Being There. No. What was the name of this one? This one's the depressing one where the kids leave the adults, and then they start over as Adam and Eve on another planet. Something. I can't remember this one, but there's another one.
Yeah, this is the one where they took the time capsule out of the ground, and then they were able to determine when the earthquakes and all those things are going to happen. But so now we're going to get into some really good stuff here. So the New Age thought is really Satan's age-old lies. Coexist is what they're promoting through all these bands too, and the light body. I just want to tell everybody that, we're not against people that believe in these things. It's just we're revealing these things because if you don't know the roots of what you believe in, the New Age religion comes from the occult. It does. It comes from the occult teachings. And this is one of the greatest tricks of the fallen angels. This is something that they need in order to have people follow after the Antichrist. This is what they need in order to trick people. I mean, if you think about it, if you get the big picture and you look, okay, well, if Satan came in this world, how would he run it? What would he do? Who would he use? And what does the Bible say about that? And then you realize, who Rome is, who the Roman Empire is, and where the occult came from, how they hide it through different ages and through different technology, like through Egypt and Samaria and all the fallen angel technology that they have. I mean, the Bible says that there were angels here at certain times. There was, and there were giants. And so in the age we live in, it's kind of hard to understand to really bring that to reality. But when you read the Bible, read it literally, research it, and there's so many layers. It's such a deep thing to understand. I'll probably never understand it all myself, but
when I see this picture that you have up here, my mind instantly goes to Freemasonry. And Freemasonry is the one that tries to get everybody to agree that we all worship the same God, no matter what religion. All religions are acceptable. Then they take you through a level system, and at a certain point, you become aware that Lucifer is the real God. And so the point is this: when I see these different religions here, this is Freemasonry. This is the Freemason agenda. The New Age and Freemasonry go together. They're the same thing. They try to get everybody to buy in that we all worship the same God, and then they initiate you into Luciferianism. So it's all a big, giant lie. These people lie their butts off, and that's why Obama is their mouthpiece up here, and so is Pope Francis, because they all lie. But that is the father of lies. Yeah, the father of lies, is Lucifer. But anytime you hear these guys like Osteen or any of these people, all these people who want to just get along with other ecumenical movements, that's ecumenicism is Freemasonry. Coexist is Freemasonry. New Age is Freemasonry. The Freemason religion is the New Age. But go ahead.
Yeah, they worship the fallen angels and the false light. So this is really important information. Serge Monas, he was a journalist, and here's a picture of him. He was a journalist, and within weeks, him and another journalist died of heart attacks. They have a heart attack machine, and within weeks, they died. They never had heart disease or any kind of problems or anything like that. But the other Canadian journalist was visiting Ireland, and prior to his death, the Canadian government abducted Serge's daughter and attempted to dissuade him from pursuing his research into Project Bluebeam, and his daughter was never returned to him. So this man he risked his life. He had people in the military, and he had lots of connections, and he did get a hold of certain documents in order to show the plans. And it's amazing, because this was 21 years ago, and he's showing things that we're hearing about right now, like the New World Order, the One World Global Currency, NASA, the blue beam, the lights that they use, the holographics that they can do. They can create a whole city right in front of you, or a person. Just, you would think it would be a real person talking to you. They do have that technology.
My name is Jack Leroy Wilson Jr. You know me as Jackie Wilson. I never liked Jackie. Do I look like a girl to you? You're about to see something amazing.
What we do is, it's a patented technique. It's the same technology that did Tupac at Coachella, right? It's a 200-year-old technique using 21st century technologies. It's really not 3D. It's a two-dimensional image that's projected in a specific way using angled reflective material that is invisible, and high-powered projectors or high-powered LEDs that is projecting video with black backgrounds that gives the illusion that you're looking at a live person standing on a stage in a three-dimensional space.
We're about the content. We're agnostic as to the display technology. If we're building a digital human, hyper-realistic character like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button or Michael Jackson, or projects that we've been talking about, like the ABBA, for example, whether those characters end up in film, in music videos, in print, imagine you now have unlimited new inventory of imagery of Marilyn Monroe. The world is really used to seeing the same 30 photographs of her. Well, now you can see many, many more.
All the content that we create, whether it's taking old footage and wrapping it in a matrix-like image or a video presentation, or in fact life-size or larger than life-size images of living people, animals, 3D models, they're all created in a way so that it can fit the Pepper's Ghost illusion. We really use a whole myriad of technologies, and then when we take the technology and we start streaming it, We then use advanced 360 and VR technologies. So what we're offering is that we're offering a live experience.
I think we can get excited about the holographic technology, but we have to make sure that we don't put the tech in front of the content. Some of the best projects we've ever worked on in the visual effects space, if we're doing our job right, people aren't thinking about the tech as they're enjoying the content.
I think the entertainers that we've picked are all the leaders within their respective areas, and it's also the partnerships that we've built with their rights holders. And taking that and seeing what we can do as a partnership collectively together, not just, one-sided.
If you look at sort of our history, the people of Pulse in leadership and the digital artists especially, we've been lucky and accomplished enough to have developed the most believable digital humans in history.
The future of the technology, I would say, comes in the evolution of the supporting technologies. Ultimately, in terms of making this a viable technology for the consumer to enjoy or for businesses to enjoy, it has to be scalable and it has to be cost effective.
So NASA's Project Bluebeam by Serge, he wrote a long article about it. He had it published and with the documents, and that's why he was killed. And so the infamous NASA Bluebeam project has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. And this was his words 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We must remember that the New Age religion is the very foundation for the New World Government, without which religion, the dictatorship of the New World Order is completely impossible. And he repeats that. Without a universal belief in the New Age religion that they're bringing in, the success of the New World Order will be impossible. That is why the Bluebeam project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now. This is a document he has that he published, and this is from the United Nations, and it talks about the steps of it. And you can find that online. Their goals are to abolish all Christian traditional religions in order to replace them with one world religion based on the cult of man, to abolish all national identity and national pride in the order to establish a world identity and a world pride, to abolish the family as known as today in order to replace them with individuals all working for the glory of the new one world government, to destroy all individual artistic and scientific creativity, to implement a one world government, one mindset. The first step in Bluebeam concerns the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet of supposedly new discoveries.
Yeah, this I've been waiting for. I've actually, before even hearing this person, I've been going that they, you think about all the stuff that they put in the Smithsonian Institute, all these Carnegie endowments and things where they take all these private stashes, the queens and the kings and all their private stashes of stuff. And then you just orchestrate, just like they're doing with these false flags, you orchestrate an event where you roll out some of these interesting items at these sites. And there you go. You got creative false flag archaeology. And that's what they're going to do. To say panspermia, of course, they want to keep the alien angle, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the biggest things, too, is the second step deals with a gigantic space show, 3D optical holograms and sounds, laser projections of multiple holographic images in different parts of the world, each receiving a different image according to its predetermined original national religious faith. This new God image will talk in all languages. Yeah, those were magical stats. The third step deals with telepathic electronic two-way communication. ELF, extra low frequency, VLF, very low frequency, and LF, low frequency waves will reach the people of the earth through the insides of their brain, making each person believe that his own God is speaking to him from within his own soul. Now, this is Serge Monist research, okay? I'm not saying this is actually how it's going to happen, or if they haven't changed
Right.
their vision or their technology at that point.
But yes, voice to skull technology is what we're talking about here. And also earthquake stuff with the extremely low frequency. They have some machines, they just shoot them into the ground and they can cause earthquakes. So real interesting stuff.
Yeah, they have all kinds of things that we don't know that they have. I mean, their technology is probably well over 100 years from our mind thinking, maybe even beyond that. But
Well, I think
I know that it
thousands.
would blow everybody away if they knew.
I think thousands, because I think the whole point of raiding these archaeological sites of Gilgamesh and things like that is to get the ancient alien technology and reverse engineer it. And they just go to wherever the fallen angels tell them their stuff is stashed. And that's what I believe Operation High Jump was when I talked about that, was that in Antarctica, when Byrd got chased out of there and the Nazi, supposedly Nazi saucers, I think that actually it really did exist, and that was ancient alien technology reverse engineered. So interesting, or fallen angel technology. I won't use the term alien.
Yeah, and in the end times, men's hearts will fail for what they see. So this is an interesting part of it. In detail, he wrote, the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. The waves used at the time will allow supernatural forces to travel through optical fibers, TV cables, electrical, and phone lines in order to penetrate to everyone at once through a major appliances. Embedded chips will had already be in place. The goal of this deals with global satanic ghosts projected all around the world in order to push all populations to the edge of hysteria and madness, to drown them into a wave of suicide, murder, and permanent psychological disorders. After the night of the 1,000 stars, worldwide populations will be ready for the new Messiah to reestablish order and peace at any cost, even at the cost of abdication of freedom.
So you mean we won't have to watch the Walking Dead series nonstop? This will actually just happen for real in front of us. People go insane and kill each other.
Well, I can't imagine it and can't even believe it myself until if I ever see it. But this is just what Serge wrote. And, based on all the things that he's written in his background, it's, and the people that he was connected to, and then the documents that he presented, it's just interesting to ponder on it.
Well, if you study emotions and the low frequency emotions, you see the depression and apathy and just those feelings of suicide. Those are very low energy, low emotions, low frequency. And if you study entrainment, the entrainment research that went on with the brain research, you could pump a depression beam across the population, and a certain percentage of those people's brains will entrain to that frequency. And then you got a group of depressed people. So, I mean, it's very possible because everything can be reduced to wavelengths and bursts of, or anxiety, whatever promote anxiety, whatever frequency needs to be out there to shoot that. So people begin to act emotional and irrational and do impulsive things. I mean, I can see it could happen moral people don't think of things like this. Moral people don't think of how to drive your city insane so that you can gain control over it by martial law or something. But these people do.
Yeah, wait till you see what else he said.
Uh-oh.
After a little bit is it this one? Oh yeah, this is it. The goal to make mankind believe that an alien off-world invasion is about to occur at every major city on Earth in order to provoke each major nation to use its nuclear weapons in order to strike back. This way, the United Nations Court will require that all those nations which launched nuclear weapons to disarm when the invasion is shown to have been false. And how will the United Nations know that the invasion was false? Because they staged it, of course. Serge Monast. That's his own words, and so.
That's funny.
So their goals is an international army. They already got it. An international police force. They already got it. A world bank for the economy. They already got it. A world government under the United Nations. Pretty much a done deal. A world conservatory bank for the wilderness preservation around the world. That means all green movements will be melded into a new international bank or disappear altogether. A world religion where all church doctrines will be destroyed at the roots to be replaced by the new world religion of the age of Aquarius. The world 7 races classification for all human slaves who will fulfill predetermined work tasks whether they agree to it or not. The world concentration headquarters at the United Nations for those who will not accept the new system. The world agriculture and food supply control, which will control food and vitamin supplies around the world.
Oh, wow.
Now, these are his words, not mine. I mean, this is from his articles.
我们会在我们的设备上加上一些体感传感器，你可以直接和我们的空气屏幕进行交互，就像科幻电影那样。它会在各种领域，包括医疗啊、教育啊，都会得到应用。
One major belief in New Age is that people are all God. These exact words came from Satan first. You will be like God, Genesis 3:5. This state of being God can be reached through meditation, visualization, yoga. Also, New Age is based on Eastern philosophical beliefs, paganism, and occult, all which believe in multiple gods and completely opposes God's word. So basically, they thought, we entered this Aquarian age in 2012, and they know these cycles of everything. That's why the Pope was here, because of these alignments in the sky and the equinoxes and all those things.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that there's just a whole different reality out there outside of what the normal masses understand. That these elites have their own indoctrination of what the world is and these events and stuff, what they really mean.
Yeah, and I was going to show that Tomorrowland is the new church. It is in the churches. It was in the Catalyst events, the songs, the electric music. It's, these churches are just all apostate now. I mean, not all churches, but a lot of them are. And this is, the masses are getting kids together and all they want is fun, and they want this music. And these connections are not the connections of Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And so I want people to realize throughout this video is the falling away of the church and in our children and our family, and how they need to understand that, not to take the mark of the beast and what they would be offered for that. This is just another picture of the Atlanta. They had this Tomorrowland festival during the same time the Pope was here.
Tomorrowland. It's held in Atlanta, Georgia.
Over the next few days.
And it has a very Disney-like feel and theme to it. This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading, and the amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda. These are transformational festivals. What they're trying to do is transform your mind into one that is of pure darkness. Now, on the surface, they from a worldly standpoint, this is about love, joy, peace, and having fun and expressing yourself and doing all of this stuff. There's nothing negative about it.
Enter the world of Tomorrowland and let yourself be amazed.
It is pure pagan debauchery.
How the miracle of creation unfolds before your eyes and come alive.
I mean, that's what this is about, is getting you maximally demon infested, so that your mind is so darkened with sin you'll never ever in a million years have a chance of getting saved.
Days of madness. Do not be sad or mourn this end. Be like the phoenix, burning into her own flames and arising from her own ashes, never being afraid of the end.
Because your conscience is seared with a hot iron, you've been turned over to a reprobate mind, and this is what Satan's wanting to get humanity doing. He wants to get them all to that state as quickly as possible. So he emphasizes a lot of this too into the youth. I believe you've probably got to be 21 to go, because I know there's a lot of drinking involved and you have to buy these tickets up front. So you can stay there on the grounds and you get to stay in your own little tent. Here's a little, this is a fact. The largest global transformation festival tomorrow ever held in the U.S., which dwarfs Burning Man by comparison in size, reach, and global scope, will be this year in Georgia. Changes countries annually for the past 10 years. This year it will have nearly 200,000 participants for 3 straight days. It broke every record for every global ticket sales of any type of event, including the Olympics and the Super Bowl.
Now it is time
when it sold out of the
take
available
your flame
180,000 tickets
and
electronically in 1 second. Why is no one covering this? At this point, there seems to be no evangelical outreach, and a very small number of Christians are even aware of this. Now remember what I said before, and the Bible said this on very clear occasions, like whenever you have particularly really perverse things going on in a nation. And in that particular case of Deuteronomy, the Bible verses I'm thinking of, it referenced bestiality, and it referenced men with men, women with women. Okay, these are moral commandments. These are things that don't change. They're always going to be an abomination before God.
For another chapter of Tomorrowland.
You know, the Bible says, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh, I change it not. Okay, so these are always going to be an abomination before God. There's multiple verses in the New Testament as well, which condemns homosexuality, or bisexuality, or, you know, all of that garbage that goes into that arena. And it says about these things that they defile the land, and because of these things, that the land vomiteth out her inhabitants. So now, as we have this type of behavior increasing at a breakneck speed, and in the sins of, in this particular case, America, you know, reaching into the heavens, God's only going to put up with so much of it before judgment comes. It's just the way it always works out in the Bible, every single time. When that happens, I don't know. I think God's been very merciful. I think a lot of the mercy is due to the remnant that's here. I think that the remnant that is in America and elsewhere has stayed the hand of God from judgment on planet Earth for a long time. And then it says in the next verse, thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. Jeremiah 7:28, but thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. And when you see the images of these things, it's like, wow, yeah, they're definitely not obeying the voice of God. Okay? This is unbridled just carnality and debauchery that's being glorified, essentially. And witchcraft. Really what a lot of this boils down to is witchcraft. Is what they're participating in a mass witchcraft event. Which ultimately, the goal of Satan regarding that also would be to usher in the Antichrist and false prophet. Through all of this negative energy that devils and demons literally feed off of. The common denominator of the one world religion under Antichrist. You can take an amalgamation of every single false black death cult on the planet. Whatever ism you want to pick, Buddhism, Catholicism, whatever. All of these works-based death cults. And amalgamate them into one system with witchcraft as its backbone, and that is what I believe will be the coming one world religion under Antichrist and false prophet. I mean, this whole concert is nothing but pure evil. What goes on there the whole weekend is pretty much all pure evil, and chose that which I delighted not. Psalm 97 verse 10, ye that love the Lord hate evil. The purest of heart can only find the key, evidently, to Tomorrowland, when it's the exact opposite. The event that they put on is, I'm talking like, they are spending millions upon millions of dollars to put this on. So, what does that tell you? This must be very important to Satan, that this go forth, and that this prosper. All these different images of this literal city that they erect in the confines of this Tomorrowland, nether dream-like Alice in Wonderland, Walt Disney, Satan world. This is a whole other level of satanic things that they're trying to do in order to get you as demon-infested as possible. I mean, it's just unreal. And one man is footing the bill, a multi-billionaire. The music is a techno music. Binaural beats is the so-called music. It's propaganda that's getting them ready for the world teacher, Maitreya. Likely candidate for some type of... He claims he's everything. He claims he's the awaited one world savior of all the major religions, okay? That's what he says. I'm not saying he's the Antichrist or the false prophet, but I do believe he's going to play a pretty major part if he's not one of them. 2 Corinthians 4:4 says, in whom the God of this world, meaning Satan, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
Are never what they seem. Try not to understand. Because it is impossible.
It's going to get more and more overtly occult as these things develop. I mean, Burning Man's totally in-your-face occult. I mean, that's just flat out, we're witches, we're here, we're New Age, we're here to work witchcraft. We're gathering together because there's more power. You know, this has been almost like programming that's been put into humanity's mind for a long time. Now it's more of a manifestation of this. This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading, and the amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
Boy, they got rained out bad too. You should have seen the pictures of it. Just totally kids camping in lakes. Yeah, judgment on them. It's good. Like I said, God will take some of these ignorant youngsters and take them to the woodshed, and some of them will respond that maybe they shouldn't be going to pagan orgies, drug-induced pagan orgies like the Tomorrowland is.
Yeah. This is their church.
Those are the prostitutes they actually have prostitutes, Yeah.
You can go and have sex in this Church of Love here at Tomorrowland.
Yeah, this was the one. This was the Tomorrowland over, I think this was Denmark or the Netherlands, this one where they have legal prostitution, and these were the legal prostitutes that you could purchase.
But it's still a part of Tomorrowland.
Oh yeah, they do it anyways. They do it anyways. That's what the whole thing's known for. That's why people go there, to hook up.
And this is the type of future that we're going to. This mind-controlled matrix tapping into our subconscious, and this transhumanism future is amongst us. The technocratic elite, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they are using this type of technology as a drip-drop method, a drip-drop effect. One drip here, one drip there. We can't see the whole picture. We can't see the agenda that is being really played out here. But us truthers, us freedom lovers, we see this. But most of the world, of the people can't see this happening, this control over our minds, our subconscious, our thoughts, our behaviors. We can't see this. Most people can't see this because it's as David Icke says, the totalitarian tiptoe. You do things in small increments and people just kind of shrug it off. But eventually, the future, it's going to get crazy. It's crazy now, but it's going to continue to get crazy. But we're going to eventually hit a road where we're like, damn, the world as when we grew up is totally different compared to how it will be in the future as it is now. But the kids in the future are going to be accepting this because this is the norm. This is going to be the new cool, the thing to do. And they're going to accept this type of technology because it's already established whenever they start growing up into this type of world, and they're going to get indoctrinated in the school systems. And this is all going to be accepted.
Thousands of years from now, we'll look back at the first century of computing as a fascinating but very peculiar time. The only time in history where humans were reduced to live in 2D space, interacting with technology as if we were machines. A singular 100-year period in the vastness of time where humans communicated, were entertained, and managed their lives from behind a screen. Today, we spend most of our time tapping and looking at screens. What happened to interacting with each other? I don't know about you, but I feel limited inside this 2D world of monitors and pixels. And it is this very limitation and my desire to connect with people that inspires me as a creator. Put simply, I want to create a new reality. A reality where technology brings us infinitely closer to each other. A reality where people, not devices, are at the center of everything. I dream of a reality where technology senses what we see, touch, and feel. A reality where technology no longer gets in our way, but instead embraces who we are. I dream of technology on a human path. We have all experienced technology that enables people to act more like people, products that enable natural interactions, voice controls, or biometrics. This is the next step in the evolution. This is Microsoft HoloLens, the first fully untethered holographic computer. Devices like this will bring 3D holographic content right into our world, enhancing the way we experience life beyond our ordinary range of perceptions. Now, I'm not thinking about a distant future. I'm talking about today. We are already seeing car companies like Volvo designing cars differently with HoloLens. Universities like Case Western redefining the way medical students learn. And my personal favorite, NASA is using HoloLens to let scientists explore planets holographically. Now, this is important. By bringing holograms into our world, I'm not just talking about a new device or a better computer. I'm talking about freeing ourselves from the 2D confines of traditional computing. Put it this way, temporally adjusted, we're like cave people in computer terms. We barely discovered charcoal and started drawing the first stick figures in our cave. Now, this is the perspective I apply to my work every single day. And now for the next few minutes, I invite all of you to apply the same perspective to the journey ahead of us. Now, as I put this HoloLens on, let me explain the setup a little bit. It's probably the most risky demo we have ever done on any stage with HoloLens, and I can't think of a better place to do it than here at TED. Momentarily, I'm going to be seeing holograms right on this stage, just as clearly as I can see all of you. Now, at the same time, we have also this special camera that just walked in on stage, so that all of you can share in this experience with me up on all the monitors. So let's start our journey. And what better place to begin our journey than in the computer cave of 2D? Let's explore the world all around us with this new lens and understand the computer world from a brand new perspective. The computer universe is both marvelous and primitive. It's a universe based on causality. As developers, we dream the different causes, and then we program the different effects. Double-click on an icon, that's a cause. Open application, that's an effect. Now, when we compare this to our physical universe, it is overly constraining because our universe is not digital. Our universe is analog. Our universe doesn't think in terms of 0 or 1, true or false, or black or white. We exist in a world governed by quantum physics, a universe of 0 and 1, both at the same time, a reality based on infinite probabilities and shades of gray. You can see how these two worlds collide. So why are screens so pervasive in our analog life? We see screens from the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep. Why? I think it's because computers give us superpowers. Within the digital universe, we have the power to displace space and the power to displace time. It doesn't matter if you're using technology for entertainment, productivity, or communication. Think of it this way. Let's all go home tonight and watch our favorite show on television. This is theater, time and space displaced. As soon as I'm done with this TED Talk, I'm going to immediately call my lovely family in Seattle. That's displacement of space. Now, these are such great superpowers that we put up with the two-dimensional limitations of our current digital world. But what if we didn't have to? What if we could have these same digital powers in our world? You can already see glimmers of this, but I believe our children's children will grow up in a world devoid of 2D technology. And it's remarkable to dream of this world, a world where technology truly understands us, where we live, work, and communicate with tools that enhance the human experience, not machines that limit our humanity. So how do we get there? For me, the answer required looking at the problem from a different perspective. It required sensing the world from the perspective of a machine. If you're a machine trying to sense our world, how would you actually break the problem down? You would probably try to classify things as a human, an environment, or an object. But how would the machine then interact with reality? And I can think of three ways. First, as a machine, I would observe, or I would input reality. Speech recognition and biometric authentication are great examples of a machine interacting with humans from an input perspective. Secondly, as a machine, I could place digital information or output information into reality. Holograms are examples of a machine interacting with an environment from an output perspective. Finally, as a machine, I could exchange energy with the world via haptics. Now imagine being able to feel the temperature of a virtual object, or better yet, imagine pushing a hologram and having it push you back with equal force. With this perspective, we are able to collapse reality into a simple matrix. Now here's a secret. As an engineer, I get really excited anytime I can reduce something into the matrix. From self-driving cars to smartphones to this holographic computer on my head, machines are becoming capable of understanding our world. And they are starting to interact with us in significantly more personal ways. Now imagine having granular control over everything in the world. Move the dial one way, and you get reality. Move the dial the other way, and you get virtual reality. Now, imagine dialing your entire environment between virtual and real worlds. I love it down here. Now, imagine if I could look at all of you and dial from real humans into elves. When technology truly understands our world, it will again transform the ways we interact, the ways we work, and the ways we play. Less than half a century ago, two courageous men landed on the moon using computers that were less powerful than the phones in your pockets. 600 million humans watched them on grainy black and white televisions. And the world was mesmerized. Now imagine how our children and their children will experience the continued exploration of space with technology that understands this world. We already live in a world where real-time universal translators exist. And I can squint, and I can already see holographic telepresence in our near future. In fact, since we've been lucky with our demo so far, let's try doing something else even more crazy. I invite you to experience, for the first time anywhere in the world, here on the TED stage, a real-life holographic teleportation. Between me and my friend, Dr. Jeffrey Norris from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Fingers crossed. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Alex.
Whew, that worked. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing great. I've had an awesome week.
So, can you tell us a little bit, Jeff, about where you are?
Well, I'm actually in 3 places. I'm standing in a room across the street, while I'm standing on this stage with you, while I'm standing on Mars, 100 million miles away.
Wow, 100 million miles away. This is crazy. Can you tell us a little bit more about where all this data from Mars is coming from?
Absolutely. This is a precise holographic replica of Mars, built from data captured by the Curiosity Mars rover that I can explore as easily as a place on Earth. Humans are natural explorers. We can instantly understand an environment just by being present in it. We've built tools like our Mars rover to extend our vision and lengthen our reach, but for decades, we've explored from a seat behind screens and keyboards. Now, we're leaping over all of that, over the giant antennas and the relay satellites and the vastness between worlds, to take our first steps on this landscape as if we were truly there. Today, a group of scientists on our mission are seeing Mars as never before. An alien world made a little more familiar because they're finally exploring it as humans should. But our dreams don't have to end with making it just like being there. When we dial this real world to the virtual, we can do magical things. We can see in invisible wavelengths or teleport to the top of a mountain. Perhaps someday, we'll feel the minerals in a rock just by touching it. We're taking the first steps, but we want the whole world to join us in taking the next, because this is not a journey for a few, but for all of us.
Thank you, Jeff. This was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on the TED stage today. And thank you for participating.
Alex. Bye-bye.
Oh, bye, Jeff. I dream about this future every single day. I take inspiration from our ancestors. We used to live in tribes where we interacted, communicated, and worked together. We are all beginning to build technology that will enable us to return to the humanity that brought us to where we are today. Technology that will let us stop living inside this 2D world of monitors and pixels and let us start remembering what it feels like to live in our 3D world. It's a phenomenal time to be human. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I
Thank you.
have some questions.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been some talk in the press, and I'm just going to ask you straight so that then you have a straight answer. There's been talk about the difference between the demos and the reality of like the commercial product.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about this field of view issue. Is this type of experience what someone who buys the product will get?
It's a great question. Or said better, this is a question we've been receiving in the media for possibly the last year. If you do your research, I haven't answered that question. I have purposely ignored it because ultimately it's the wrong question to ask. That's the equivalent of me, showing holograms to someone for the first time, and you then saying, "What's the size of your television?" The field of view for the product is almost irrelevant. What we should be talking about is the density of lights or radiance that show up. Better said, what the angular resolution is of the things that you see. So from that perspective, what you saw, the camera's wearing a HoloLens, so even if I wanted to cheat, I can't. What you are seeing.
But the camera has a different lens on it than our eye, right?
The camera has a fisheye lens on it, right? So it's seeing a much wider view than the human eye is.
Right.
So if you think about the points of light that show up radially from the vision of the camera, which is the thing that matters. How many points of light can I get in a given volume? That's the same as I get on this HoloLens as I will on that one. Now, this camera sees a much wider view of the world, right?
Jesus Christ.
And he did show up. I told you he was going to show up. Come this way. There's holographic Jeff Norris.
I knew something was happening, but I really wasn't sure.
So in short, to be super crisp, the camera that you see on the screen has a wider field of view than the human eye, but the angular resolution of the holograms that you see, the points of love, the points of light per unit of area, are actually the same.
So you spent, Jeff, I'll get to you in a minute. I don't know quite, yeah. So you spent a lot of time mapping the stage. So
That's right.
Help me out here. If I buy a HoloLens and I have it at home, I don't need to map my apartment, right?
The HoloLens maps in real time at about 5 frames per second with this technology that we call spatial mapping. So in your home, as soon as you put it on, holograms will start showing up and you'll start placing them and you'll start learning your home. In a stage environment where we're trying to get something on my head to communicate with something over there, with all of the wireless connectivity that usually brings all conferences down, we don't take the risk of trying to do this live. So what we do is we pre-map the stage at 5 frames per second with the same spatial mapping technology that you'll use with the product at home, and then we store it so that when there's shenanigans of wireless in an environment like this between camera, HoloLens, and the one on my head, we don't have things disappear. Because ultimately, the holograms are coming from this HoloLens, and that one is just viewing the HoloLens. So if I lose connectivity, you would stop seeing beautiful things on the screen.
And it was beautiful. Jeff?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dark Projection Mapping. みんな、心の準備はいいかな?
But I'm going to show a video real fast, just a few seconds of it real quick, okay? Okay, now, you know, radioactive, sorry, let me plug my headphones back in. Radioactive is false light, okay? And so they're yelling out, false light, you know, welcome to the New Age Church of the false light, you know, because radioactive is false light. And this is what they're singing in the church.
Yeah.
Okay, some of the biggest churches in the world is a concert now. It doesn't have anything to really do with salvation. Actually, and I watched a video, it's in this video below our description, but they say, you know, for us not to go out and preach the gospel, but get ourselves right.
You have been called to do one thing supremely well, and that is to love. As a leader if you ignore the imposter shepherds and keep pace with the good shepherd.
If you can't get curious, you can't get free.
This message about a process, and the question I offer to you is, will you go through the process? Because I believe that there are people in here with God dreams, God visions, God convictions, God calls, and you're upset because it's not happening now.
See what happened? I naturally reached out and I just got stable. This is what it looks like. Get ready, girls, this is gonna get fast.
Some of us think that God is so concerned with what you're doing. He is more concerned with who you're becoming.
I want you to make attaining self-knowledge a spiritual priority in your lives. I want you to begin to pray that prayer of St. Augustine. Lord, let me know myself in order that I may know thee.
This is what God has done for us. He has put us in places where we are meant to be.
Yeah, and this Hillsong's founder, Frank Houston, which is his father, Brian Houston, and he admits that I guess it came out a certain way to where they had to admit that his father was molesting a 7-year-old boy in 1969. And not only was his case examined, but also multiple scandals about finances at Hillsong and the cult's attitude towards homosexuality. And we know that homosexuality is... when you get above 33-degree Mason and what they do with sodomy and all of those things,
right?
High up in the cults, that's what they do.
This is the extension of Aleister Crowley and his sex magic, his molesting children. This is the extension of that, and so you get all this pedophilia and homosexuality going on. You can probably track it right to some origin that connects the New Age church and witchcraft through Crowley and other things like that.
Yeah. And, that's what this world is molded to trick people into doing, is to, fall away from Christ and do these things, but, Brian Houston, when it's like, they play off of people's feelings. So he comes out, he talks about what his dad did, and that's how people play on people's feelings. We will never know the real truth about his family life with his father or anything like that. It's just, to me, it's disturbing. The things that he said about our God being the same God as a Muslim God, I don't agree with that.
It's Freemason stuff. Again, it's Freemason stuff. These people are showing their Freemason roots. That's all you got. Every time I hear them say stuff like that, I go, "Oh, here's another Freemason."
Yeah, here's the some of their props at the churches. They're all pyramids, and this is another sign from Bono. He is the co-founder of One Campaign, and this is some of their symbolism. Coexist. Here, we were talking about homosexuality here in the church. And here it is again with Bono. He is a homosexual or a bisexual. And so the name One was inspired by the belief that one voice, and we're talking about one world order. And I know One was used the name One was used in a campaign with Obama. Coming together with many others, the political left and right, business leaders, activists, faith leaders, and students can change the world for the better. So in 2008, One merged with Data. The merged entity was run by CEO David J. Lane until his departure in 2011. He joined the Obama administration at that point. The Georgia Guidestones unite humanity with a living new language. So the name One was inspired by belief that one voice. Here, we already said that here. Sorry, I had a couple of slides from another. These slides were cut out. I had a whole hour's worth cut out of my other video because of things that we were talking about with these, with CERN and with these organizations. But Genesis 11:1 says, "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech," during that time of Nimrod. And remember, Esau killed Nimrod.
If you ever wanted to shake somebody up and with all this one stuff, you just ask them, you know what the term for the one world leader is? The Führer. The Führer means leader, the leader. And maybe that'll snap something in them going, gee, I don't really want to be a Nazi. Well, all your world leaders want to be Nazis. So, they want to follow the one pure Antichrist.
Yeah. The Live Earth, this is founded by Al Gore. Pharrell. I'm sorry I said it wrong last time. Pharrell Williams is a spokesperson for Al Gore, one of the top spokespeople, and with Live Earth. Live Earth is rolling in the World Climate Summit, Road to Paris in 2015.
Chris and I were talking about the mark of the beast, and we were talking about where does this mark of the beast thing fall in there? Well, your immortality is your birthright to be immortal, to be with Christ. So when you're with Christ, you accept Christ, and you're immortal. Now, the whole thing that was interesting about Esau was that he let his flesh rule him, and by letting his flesh rule him, he gave away his birthright for a bowl of soup. So the point that we were trying to draw, not in the classic understanding of Ecclesiastes and there's nothing new under the sun, this story to me is the story of the mark of the beast. Because what is your price that you will pay to take the mark? And here's these, these girls, oh man, I see them all day everywhere. They just stare at these things. So we're going, what would you, yes, I'm sorry, but what would you do? What would you do if, what would the kids give away, the teenagers and the 20-somethings? What would they do without their cell phones? Would they sell their soul to have an unlimited data plan? And we just started going on this thing. And I see you have some slides here about it, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Tim brought a good point up because Esau's flesh, he was ready to sell his birthright, for whatever he wanted. But look at today and technology. I mean, what if the computer system went down and they offered a new system that you could be a part of, but you had to get connected with your phone and a biological mark? So what would your kids do? What would your friends do, or people that you know? And I just want to bring the seriousness of this because, I mean, we're talking about these days that we're living in, and won't we regret it if we don't have a serious conversation with, I'll talk to them about it if it gets to that point. What if you die before that? What if God puts it on your heart? And what if it's too complicated to talk to them? What if they don't listen? Well, that's where we pray, because we pray and let the Holy Spirit guide us into what to say to our children on different levels that they are, to our friends, to people, just to put it in our minds, because the Bible talks about this. No one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast. We just had a one world trade agreement deal done. And now we're having a climate agreement done, and things are going to start changing, and there's going to be more confusion and more chaos, and then they're going to want to bring in this peace and this agreement in order to take the mark so you can buy or sell.
You are here to act as chaperones to the candidates. A group selected for intelligence trials using augmented reality technology.
This is seriously weird, isn't it? I am Ariel.
The candidates, they're children.
The time to save our country's future is now.
I thought that was a really neat trick they played on you.
Alert me at any time if you feel stressed, anxious, or concerned.
They weren't like this when we arrived.
There's something wrong with them! Hurry! Run! Tanks! The other direction!
These are the minds of the future, remember?
Okay, so who out there has imagination? Everyone. Okay, everyone, close your eyes. Imagine a world where you are diagnosed with a terminal illness. But you live to see your great-grandkids go to college. Now let's imagine living 40 dreary years with a clubfoot, But on your 50th birthday, you're a professional ballet dancer. Now open your eyes. That world is here, and it's yours.
With parts made in Japan, I am the modern man. I've got a secret I've been hiding under my skin. My heart is human, my blood is boiling, my brain IBM. So if you see me acting strangely, don't be surprised. I'm just a man who needed someone and somewhere to hide to keep me alive. Just keep me alive. Somewhere to hide to keep me alive. I'm not a robot without emotions. I'm not what you see. I've come to help you with your problems so we can be free. I'm not a hero, I'm not the savior. Forget what you know. I'm just a man whose circumstances are beyond his control, beyond my control. I need control. I need control. I need control. I am the modern man who hides behind the mask, so no one else can see my true identity. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto, for doing the job nobody wants to. And thank you very much, Mr. Roboto, for helping me escape when I needed to. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Lord, thank you. Please, thank you. The problem's plain to see. Too much technology.
Windmill for the land, turn forever hand in hand. Take it all and all your stride. It is taking, falling down. Love forever, love is free. Turn forever, you and me. Windmill for the land, everybody.
MK-Ultra radiation experiments mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies. In the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons. Microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard of the word magnetobiology? If any of you out there are physicians or doctors or physicists or biochemists or any type of researchers, I bet you've never heard of that field of study. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and I have a bachelor's degree in biological science. And when I went to UCI for 5 years, none of the curriculum included anything remotely close to the interactions of electromagnetic fields with living tissue. They don't want you to know about how this works because this is a secret stealth weapon that they're touting as the neatest thing since sliced bread. It is right now making up the majority of the economy.
Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important.